goes on Yeah.
You don't carry.
राम नाम सत्य है, राम नाम सत्य है सत्यम, राम नाम सत्य सत्यम। राम नाम जय राम जय जय राम, श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम, श्री राम जय राम जय जय, श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम, 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 श्री राम
सदा त्वमेव त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देवा त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देवा
May be seated. Please do not take your shoes off. Thank you.
We
Good afternoon, dear brothers and sisters, family and friends. It is indeed a sad occasion for us to gather here to pay our last respects to Amritlal Santilal Ravjee, popularly known as Flint to many of us. Our officiating priest this afternoon is Pandit Hari Twarika, but to get proceedings underway and to invoke a prayer, I call on Swami Lokasadananda from the Sivananda Vedanta Ashram to address you. Thank you, Swamiji.
तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्.
Dear family and friends, on behalf of the officials, members and trustees of the Shivananda Vedanta Ashram, I convey our deepest sympathies to Sister Beena, the children, and all the members of the extended family and friends. I personally feel the loss of my dear friend, our late Ravjee. We pray to the Lord to give all the members of the immediate family and all close friends and relatives the inner strength to bear this loss. At a time like this, when our emotions are strained, only God's grace can bestow inner strength. Prayer and chanting and singing the Lord's name have an healing effect. In my tribute to a close friend, our late Ravjee, benefactor to our ashram, we can say that we have seen the teachings of serve, love, give, purify being practiced in his life. Be good, do good, be kind, be compassionate was so spontaneous and natural in him. Those were the simple teachings of our spiritual master, Swami Shivananda. He did not have to think too hard to part with his hard-earned money to serve another to create a bright future for the child he served so selflessly. When he visited the ashram, he would spoil the devotees with so much of goodies and at times so much of vegetables and fruits. It is a gift of God to give, and hundreds have benefited by his caring and sharing nature. These values of service and sacrifice was so abundantly revealed in his lifestyle that the other members of the family have also emulated these values, and it is reflected by their words and deeds. Beena cares for the devotees and makes sacrifices by caring and sharing. Pravesh takes care of our computers. When we start writing a tribute for a noble man, the pen cannot stop. Hence, this little tribute is just a paragraph from a great big book. We humans mourn the death of a body, but the ultimate truth is that Flint is a soul that left the body and that was ailing, and nature will bestow upon him a new body to continue his journey to moksha. We pray for his welfare in his new world. Peace be upon him. Thank you, God bless.
Thank you, Swamiji, for that very profound message. Now, many of you may have been wondering how the late Mr. Ravjee got his nickname Flint. Well, in 1966, there was an action comedy movie titled Our Man Flint. And I think it would be fair to say that our very own Mr. Ravjee fancied himself to some extent as a James Bond. and hence he became our local Flint, a name that stuck with him through eternity. Ladies and gentlemen, in the interim, we have Hariram Sangeet, who will render bhajans in between. But because we have a list of speakers, such was Flint's popularity, that time management is going to be essential. So when there's a gap, Tony Bai, I will alert you. Ladies and gentlemen, sitting here along with her family is Bina, who was married to Flint for 45 years. Now, Flint excelled in many aspects of life, not least of which he was a dedicated family man. His family hailed from Central Durban, Silver Glen, Palok, and then finally at La Mercy. Mr. Ravjee started his schooling at Claywood High, then Sastry College, then Emal Sultan in aspects of teacher training, then the University of Durban Westfall. And he thereafter commenced block teaching at Lake Haven Secondary School. Then moved on to Chatsworth Secondary, then Effingham Secondary, from where he retired 8 years ago. Yesterday, Sunday morning, at around 8, my neighbor, Mr. Visham Badalu, called to ask if I was aware of Flint's death. They had been teaching colleagues at Effingham for many years. Quote, Mr. Badalu, he was always a jovial, fun-loving guy, said Mr. Badalu, and that perhaps summed up our Mr. Ravjee. But here's how former colleagues, family, friends, and his class of 97 at Effingham Secondary recalled Mr. Ravjee's exploits in and out of the classroom. And to pay tribute, on behalf of the class of 97, I call upon Mr. Creason Francis to address you. Mr. Creason Francis, thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Francis family, I'd like to take this opportunity to pass our deepest sympathies and condolences to the Ravjee family, extended family and friends. Mr. Ravjee was a teacher first to me, and thereafter my very close friend's dad. And I think you all can pay tribute or witness to how popular Mr. Flint was, or Mr. Ravjee was, by the great number of people that have gathered here today, in the hall, in the home, and as well as here in the crematorium. This is a tribute from his form class of 1997, which is now 26 years going on. Sir, you had such an amazing effect on us in and out of the classroom. The belief you had in us even surpassed our own belief in us. As a tutor, you guided us, and as a form teacher, you defended us, even when we were totally in the wrong. Thank you for the guidance, the mentorship, and always allowing each and every one of us to achieve and become successful. You had a major part in this journey of ours. We still talk about how you used to ask us daily if we were shy. And that it is Joey in the cafe and Joey in the backyard. And Zain in the classroom. We will miss you dearly, sir. Our condolences to the entire Ravjee family. Thank you for sharing this amazing human being with us. May he rest in peace. Class of 1997. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Francis. I can only hope that the class of 97 was not left shell-shocked in any way. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is Mrs. Queenie Chandraman, who worked with Mr. Ravjee at Effingham for many years. He, Mr. Ravjee, was her HOD in the accounting department. Mrs. Chandraman.
Program Director, the officiating priest, the bereaved family, ladies and gentlemen, Namaste and Vanakkam. On behalf of the family of Effingham Secondary School, the Effingham community, past and present principals, and SGB members, thank you for according me the opportunity of sharing the grief today. Firstly, I have a very special message from his last principal, Mr. Indran Govender, whom he worked very closely with. From Mr. Indran Govender. I have known Mr. A.S. Ravjee since the 80s, when we both were involved with sports under the banner Natal High School. And then our paths crossed again when I joined the staff of Effingham Secondary School, and later he and I had become members of the management of Effingham Secondary. And a few years before his retirement, he served as an HOD for Commerce, and he was a loyal member of my administration who always respected my office. He always had an interest in his team at heart, and he always stood by his dedicated team, that was the Commerce Department. As the previous speaker said, he was a very jovial, kind and kind-hearted person, and he never wanted to deliberately hurt anybody. He always brought laughter to the staff room. There was never a dull moment with Flint, as he was affectionately known at Effingham Secondary. My deepest sympathies and condolences to his family. I pray that the Divine Mother gives the family the strength to bear the sad loss. May his Atma find eternal peace. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. That is coming from Indran Govender, who apologizes for not being here as he is in Johannesburg. From the community of Effingham, Flint Ravjee was our head of department Commerce, who was definitely without a doubt worthy of emulation. Flint has served the education department for 40 years, and in the main teaching business studies and typing, and the major part of his teaching career was at Effingham Secondary for 26 years. Flint Ravjee started his teaching career not so long ago, judging by how young he had looked, at Chatsworth Secondary School in 1974. He was part of a dynamic team, as we are aware that this school was always a top school in the Chatsworth area, producing outstanding results during his term of office. In 1988, he was transferred to Effingham Secondary, another high-performing school in KZN. He became an acting HOD in 1997 and served the school in his capacity until 2001. He was successfully appointed as an head of department in Commerce in 2001, and he served our institution with pride, commitment, and was passionate about his job. Because of his hard work and excellent contribution to the Department of Education, he was awarded 3 merit notches. His extra and co-curricular interests made him a very popular teacher in education and in the sporting field. He was actively involved in Natal High School athletics, an organization that was held with the greatest team and was well recognized in South Africa. He was also a member of the Teachers Association of South Africa, and he played an active role in all its activities. His humility and his modest disposition was highly admired. His role in society and the upliftment of his learners from 1974 is much appreciated by all those you have touched so closely. He has molded the career of thousands of students, as Crescent has said, with sincerity and commitment, but most important, towards his team, Anil Gordon, Ashika Harku, and myself. Words may not do justice as to how thankful we are for treating us with dignity and with respect. The excellent results that our Commerce Department produced was the end results of his dedication to Effingham Secondary. He has taught us how to work smart, and he always carried a clipboard around looking rather busy, and we always wondered what he was doing. So ladies and gentlemen, let's celebrate his life, and may his soul rest in peace and find eternal peace, dear brother. And finally, Mr. Ravjee, I would like to dedicate this to you. Sorry. Some people arrive into your lives and then depart, leaving footprints of our hearts, and we are in no way the very same. May flowers always line your path and sunshine your day. May songbirds serenade every step along your way. May a rainbow run beside you in the sky that's always blue. May the good Lord hold you in true light in the hollow of his hands, and may happiness fill your heart each day, your whole life through, in your new destination. Ladies and gentlemen, when Mr. Ravjee left, I had said that same, little realizing that 9 years later, I will do the same in this hall. On behalf of my family, the Chandraman family, my mum, the Governor family, on behalf of the family of Effingham Secondary, our deepest sympathies to Nerissa and your family. And may the good Lord grant you peace during these trying times. Thank you. Sorry about getting so emotional. Thank you, Program Director.
Thank you, Mrs. Chandraman. An emotive address indeed, but I have no doubt that it comes from within the very deep recesses of your heart. So thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a saying that the mighty oak has fallen and the elephant has now been silenced. But Flint's memories will live on forever, because such was the impact that he made with all of those that he came in contact with. We will now have a short break, and Hariram Sangeet will take over for a short bhajan if you can, and then we'll move on. Will Mrs. Kalimutu please be ready for the next one?
Bolo Jai Durga Ma, Bolo Jai Kali Ma, Bolo Jai Amritlal
Beside the name of the Divine Mother Durga, she is also called by many other names such as Ambe Ma or Jagadambe Ma. Oh Mother, if we have made any mistakes, please forgive us, because we are your children. I am just a humble person, but you are most powerful. I have looked for you from temple to temple. Please help me to overcome my difficulties and sorrows. Please have pity on me. Praises to you, O Mother Durga.
Thank you, joined by the team. Our next speaker is Mrs. Indrani Kalimuthu, whose association with Mr. Ravjee spanned 5 decades. From first meeting at Amritlal Sultan Technical College, which incidentally was my alma mater as well, to then crossing paths at Chatsworth Secondary. Mrs. Kalimuthu, please.
Respected elders, ladies and gentlemen, my humble vanakkam and namaste to one and all present here today. At some time or the other, we all experience the heartfelt pain of loss, especially if the person had always played a pivotal and influential role in the lives of people. It is with great sadness and empathy that I stand before you to pay tribute to my dear colleague, Mr. A.S. Ravjee, better known to all of us as Flint. I'm Indrani Kalimuthu, who had known Mr. Ravjee and was proud to say at the beginning of this year, we made it for 50 years. Our paths crossed at the early 70s, 5 decades ago, when I just came out of school and I decided to pursue a career in teaching at the Amritlal Sultan Technical College. In those days, the Amritlal Sultan only had courses for commercial subjects and phys ed. Upon entering the college, we were met by the third-year student. And of course, in the front line, there was Flint in his final year. Flint, being there in the front line, informed all of us that have arrived to walk right up to Curry's Fountain for a meeting. Only 2 hours later did we realize that it was a prank. Knowing Flint. When Flint qualified as an educator the following year, he was appointed at Chatsworth Secondary, that is in 1974. And I, 2 years later, went to Shawcross Secondary. But at Shawcross Secondary, I decided to apply for a transfer, and to my surprise, I ended up going to Chatsworth Secondary. Once again, there was Flint in the front line. And I was overjoyed to first see him there because he welcomed me. And I was so excited because at least I've seen one familiar face. I know people like Nelson and so on were there, but I didn't really know them so well as Flint. But knowing Flint, he once more gave me the runaround. And after a good few hours, he showed me around, and of course, indeed, I have been ever so grateful for that. At Chatsworth Secondary, no task was too small for Flint. I know some of this may be repeated because we will have other speakers that have been, are going to talk about Flint's teaching career. Whether it came to marking the grounds for our annual sports day, because those days we had our sports on the ground, on the school premise, on the school grounds. Whether it was preparing the programs and printing, even though they used the old duplicating machines. Whether it was controlling textbooks, you name it, and he always found a solution to sort out almost any problem. Yesterday morning, when I heard a beep on my phone, I for some reason couldn't sleep. And when I saw the name Bina come up so early, I said this is very unusual because I just chatted with her. And when she gave me the news, I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. And as I sent messages, whether it was to Mrs. Chandraman or all my other colleagues, everybody almost replied with, OMG. Are you sure? Are you talking about Flint? Because people just couldn't believe because of his nature. And many of them spoke about his sense of humor. One educator actually said to me, I can still hear those keys in his hand. Now, if those of you who were there at Chatsworth Secondary would remember, Flint had this one habit with him. He would always walk around with a bunch of keys in his hand. And only he knew which key would be used for which door. Nobody else knew it. So we called him the key man at Chatsworth Secondary. I can't remember seeing Flint angry. He always made us laugh, but he was never angry about anything. Flint and I shared a lot of common grounds at Chatsworth Secondary. We both taught all the kids that came to school from standard 6, I'm talking about standard, not grade at that time, standard 6 and 7, we taught all of them typing. And many of them wondered, what is typing going to be of use to us? But later on, and right up until today, people are so grateful that because of the basics that we taught them in typing, they were able to master and use the computers well because they had keyboard skills. Both of us served on the Natal High School Sports Federation. While Flint was the secretary for athletics, I was the secretary for netball and we used to travel out with the students quite a bit. We also continued to further our studies while we were at Shattered Secondary. We used to go to classes in the evening, and we furthered our studies in Commercefield. And later on, our families became very close friends. Of course, when Flint and Bina built their home in Lamesi, Flint applied for a transfer and moved up to Effingham. And we still kept in contact, not forgetting to invite us whenever there were special occasions, especially our milestone birthdays. Later in 2001, when I was appointed a subject advisor in the Amlazi district, once again our paths crossed because Effingham Secondary fell under the Amlazi district, and I had to meet Flint, and he was by then the head of department for commerce. But this time, there was no running around with Flint. It was my turn. And of course, he was regarded as one of a very hard-working, dedicated and committed educator, both at Chapter 2 and Effingham. Flint was a mentor, a leader and a role model to many in the Department of Education. Very committed to the learners and those that worked under him. He was a perfectionist who gave of his best and never believed in doing things in half measures. One thing I am really going to miss is Flint's morning messages. Not a day will go without sending us a message. Even when he was in hospital, sometimes Bina had to take away his phone to say not to send us any more messages. And right up until Wednesday, if we look at some of the messages that he sent to us, it was so relevant. Flint always kept us in stitches. Some of the jokes that he would say, some of the videos that he would send, we would be in stitches. And I can't remember ever being angry with Flint. I'm really, truly blessed to have met such a humble human being for the past 50 years. The bond that we had, especially the educators in the 80s, Joe sitting here will bear me out, the bond that we had in the 80s was unreal. We all had a passion for our job, and we respected each and every educator that was on the board. To Bina, Narissa, Trivash, Nashil, and not forgetting that adorable grandson of yours, may Swami grant your strength during this difficult period in our lives. Last week, I sent a message to Flint, and I said he wanted to know, I wanted to know how are you? He said, okay, I'm okay. And I said, and he said, how are you? I said, okay. He said, you're not supposed to say okay. I said, why? He said, that's my word. I said, why, Flint? What's okay? He said, okay means one kidney. And I never knew that. I want to say farewell to my dear friend, and may your legacy live on. I have with me my head of department, who used to be my head of department, and we still regard him as our head of department, Mr. Bhagwat. And he will tell you more about how we compiled our chat group and how we spoke regularly and what we were doing in the past few years. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Listening to Indrani, I can say she was very fortunate to have encountered Flint and a friend for, more than 50 years. To judge, well, one of the things when I did come in here, I noticed everyone addressed him as Mr. Ravjee. Quite frankly, no one knows a Mr. Ravjee. Everyone only knows a Flint.
And I don't think any one of us ever addressed him as Mr. Ravjee while working with him. How do we judge people? Because sometimes we have a tendency to judge people by the way we address them. Mr. Ravjee, so he must be some person of high position, holding some particular post. No, I think you judge people by how others see them. As a simple, humble man, very humorous. I don't think any one of us, Nelson I'm sure will say so too, at management level or any level, ever had the opportunity to be angry with Flint. You just can't be angry with him. That's the time. And Bina, you've been very fortunate to have someone close to you like that. You probably must be the tough one at home. Yes, Indrani, I met them in 1980 and I left in 1987. That's, almost 43 years ago, but we still have a very great bond. And Indrani, and if I look at it now, and if you reflect, no one else can take credit for keeping that team so together, but these two, Flint and Indrani. Their friendship flowed onto us, so we had a very happy working relationship. And without taking too much of your time, I'd just like to mention two things in particular. People will always mention his selflessness and his willingness to participate in any role. I can tell you what we used to do there. Whenever there was an examination, 6, 7 of us would get together and we'll mark person A's paper that was written for the day. Flint was a typing teacher, but he will mark maybe the one-word questions, he'll do the additions, he'll do the totals, so next day at the office we can submit a set of papers, all moderated. You fellow teachers will know what I'm talking about. He never shirked any duty. He kept us. In short, he made his typing room available and he kept us, well, quite occupied. I must also add this, the second thing I wanted to mention is, I received quite a few messages from our pupils of 1981 who are now in the late 50s, and they had the kind heart to invite their ex-teachers, former teachers, Flint included, to supper in December last year. It was so good to see them. They also, I think Nelson was also there, one of my colleagues at Churchill High. And I think what that shows is that they held such high regard for the teachers, quite late in their lives as well. And there we had an opportunity again to meet with Flint. I'm also grateful to the fact that we've got a group where we meet quite often. And Ronnie, one of our fellow educators with the team, we got together, was it June? In July, and we met Bina, Flint, our wives, and we all spent some time together. And for those good times, we are very grateful that we see Flint throughout a period of our lives. Bina, my message to you and your family is, you can take solace in the fact that you had a simple, humble, and simple, I say in the kindest terms, who was well loved by all. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Mrs. Kalimutu. I just want to know one thing from you, please. Did that bunch of keys have a key to the safe as well? And thanks to Mr. Bhagawat, an old friend, for topping it up. Friends are for keeps. They are with you through storms, through turbulence, and calm, sunny skies. One such is Mr. Nelson Governor, a friend for 40 plus years, Mr. Governor.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. My name is Nelson Governor, and I'm honored to be standing here in front of you to illustrate Amritlal Santilal Ravjee's life legacy. It is with heavy hearts and mixed emotion that we have gathered here to pay our last respects and tribute to a wonderful, large-hearted, and a blessed soul, the late Mr. A.S. Ravjee, affectionately known to all of us as Flint. Today we sit solemnly, emotionally devastated and shattered by the tragedy of having to say goodbye to this generous, warm-hearted man who was always quick to smile and who also had a great sense of humor. I feel truly blessed and honored to have been asked by the family to pay tribute to a colleague, friend, confidant, and brother, our late Flint Ravjee. More especially as we did enjoy a special and long-standing friendship for the past 48 odd years. I do this with great sadness, but at the same time with remembering all the beautiful memories we shared with each other, and with people he embraced and touched in some way or the other. Flint's life legacy is an endless one, so I will just touch on ones that are most memorable and that are most who knew Flint can relate to. Flint and I became close friends since 1973 when he reported for duty at one of the foremost high schools in the sprawling township of Chatsworth. This educational institution was none other than Chatsworth High School. Flint and I reminisced just a week prior to his passing on regarding our life, our times of teaching at the school. The happiness and joy it gave us as teachers when our students became achievers in just about every field of education. I want to reiterate, some are civil servants, educators, educational administrators, doctors, lawyers, accountants, businessmen, businesswomen. Just endless to name, but suffice to say, as Flint said to me, the best days ever teaching. Flint and I have always been extremely fortunate that the past students of Chatsworth High are still in contact with us. Robin alluded to this a few minutes ago. We were also fortunate to be invited to the many classes reunions to date. From then on, and so for nearly 48 years, we have become firm friends and over the decades leaned on each other in various ways. In many ways, we regard each other as brothers. A brief account of Mr. A.S. Ravjee's dedication and commitment to the teaching profession. His career commenced at Chatsworth High. Flint was a commerce teacher. His specialty was typing and business studies. He was one of the most popular and go-to teacher that students interacted with. He always took the time to listen and advise. This was his loving and caring disposition that students admired and respected him for. This is what we will always remember Flint for. Thereafter, Flint was promoted to Effingham Secondary as head of Commerce Department. He excelled as a teacher and received many accolades from the Department of Education. He was highly regarded for his no-nonsense approach, but a friendly attitude towards his learners. Simply put, a disciplinarian. Flint also for many years marked metric papers set by the Department of Education. Flint excelled in this aspect and soon enjoyed senior marker status. He subsequently retired in 2013. His other significant contributions were in the field of sports promotion and administration. As early as 1973, Flint served as the secretary of the then Natal High School Athletics Association. The president of this organization was Mr. D.P. Naidu, affectionately known to all of us as Dasi. He was also a teacher at Chatsworth High School. For those that interacted with Flint in the organization, knew him to be an extremely efficient, diligent, and a committed secretary. It was common knowledge that during this time, the top performing athletes gained Natal colors. This was indeed something to be proud of. The executive also honored Flint with Natal colors, the green blazer. This was intended to be a noticeable acknowledgement by the association, especially when the then Natal team, accompanied by Flint and other officials, traveled to other provinces. Another one of my colleagues is sitting here with us. This is Mr. Karthikeyan Chetty, who was also very involved in the promotion of sports in our country. He had the following to say. Flint was the first delegate from Natal who initiated cross-country event in the South African Athletic Committee register for planning purposes. It was from this point that cross-country became an annual code attached to athletics. Furthermore, Mr. Chetty also reiterated that Flint was extremely dedicated and worked single-handed to complete urgent secretarial tasks overnight and then present himself to school the next morning without making a big deal of this. This was our Flint with commitment and accountability. Mr. Chetty elaborated that Flint's dedication was unparalleled and highly revered, and he strove to make sure that the athletic program was of the highest caliber. On a more personal and important part of Flint's journey, during the early days of courtship with a very vivacious, loving, caring, and extremely friendly Bina, I provided transport to ferry them around the popular spots in Durban beachfront, area like Blue Lagoon. Our friendship strengthened with my wife Sandy and Bina becoming extremely close and are friends to date. This courtship eventually resulted in Flint and Bina tying the knot on the 7th of July, 1978. Sandy and I were blessed to be part of this wedding entourage when they got married. Flint and Bina started their married life in Silverglen, where they rented premises from Mr. Dory Reddy, also an educator from Chatsworth. They lived in close proximity to many foremost educators like the late Mr. Rati Gordon, Maga Mudli, Raj Mudli. As time progressed, they were able to purchase a property and build their own home in La Mesa. They relocated to this area in 1986. My wife Sandy and I assisted to transport some of the goods to La Mesa to the home they are currently living in. This was indeed the most exciting day in their lives. Sandy and I were extremely lucky to be part of this day and the great achievement in building this beautiful and welcoming home. As time progressed, the governors and the Ravjees, with their respective children, took many holidays together to places visiting the Drakensberg area several times. Swaziland was also included in our itinerary. And enjoying many weekends at the beach, drives, and parks with our families. Flint was extremely proud of his family. His wife Bina was mostly the reason for his happiness. She understood and complimented him in all aspects of their lives. She was his wife, friend, confidant, and this was imparted to me in many conversations. His children were, without sounding vain, his pride and joy. Just to elaborate briefly, Privash, his eldest born, having completed his university studies, is an IT specialist and is excelling at this to date. Narissa, his second born, also university graduate, presently holding a financial management position of Vega and Varsity College based in Gauteng. She's married to Adrian, who is a chartered accountant and an entrepreneur. They have a 6-month-old son named Jamie Daniel. I clearly remember the day when he was born. Flint called me to give me the news. Hey Nell, I'm now a grandfather. The happiness and joy was so noticeable. Jamie's arrival definitely brought joy and bliss into Flint's life. Nishil, his youngest son, basically the apple of Flint's eye, is regarded as Flint's baby. He is a BSc Apps Development graduate and started his first job this year. His love for Flint cannot be measured, and this is and was always noticed by all of us who visited them at their home. Both Flint and Bina are known animal lovers. They have 2 grand dogs named Georgie and Louis, who both admired Flint. Flint's passing on will certainly leave a huge vacuum among his family and friends. It is important that I call out his surviving siblings, as each one of them played a special role in his life. Dino, Flint's brother, did indicate yesterday that Flint was the 4th oldest of 12 siblings that lived with the parents in the Parlock area. Not only was Flint an unfailing brother, uncle and friend, we all know him to be a loving, doting and a proud husband and father. All present here today know, like myself, that the most important people in Flint's life were his loving wife and his children. They have had an amazing marriage for about the past 45 years, based on mutual respect, love, and understanding and togetherness. Flint and Bina embraced each other's large families as their very own and always showered them with love and respect. Flint and Bina had an understanding that many of us can only dream of. Their respect for each other is portrayed in how they interacted with the immediate and extended families and friends. We pray that God Almighty grants Bina, the children, and immediate family spiritual strength and fortitude to bear this tremendous loss. All the support, encouragement, and words of comfort over the past few days will always be remembered. To Privash, Narisha, Adrian, Nishil, family members who had been there for Flint and Bina during a short period of ill health needs to be recognized. A very big thank you for your unwavering support, love and care. It is truly appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, a person's real legacy after the demise of the physical body is to be found in those they leave behind, those they have touched and enhanced. Finally, I want to say goodbye to you, my friend, Amritlal Santilal Ravjee. It was my pleasure and honor to have known you. You were a special person to all of us that knew you. Your legacy will live on in the beautiful memories you leave for all of us. Go well, my dear friend, my brother. We will certainly miss you. Namaste. And I've got a few messages that I want to quickly go through. Right, as Mr. Bogart mentioned, personally I received numerous WhatsApp messages from the past learners from Chatsworth High School to express the condolences to the Ravjee family. Also from my daughter Riona, a message read, "Dear Auntie Bina and children, my thoughts and prayers are with you. Uncle Flint will really be missed." And also Ravi and Babs from Brisbane, Australia, Charles and Marlene from Auckland, New Zealand, Creason and Narisha from Austin, USA, Shannon and all the family children from JHP. I repeat, go well, my friend. We will really miss you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carpenter, for reliving your journey and friendship with Mr. Ravjee. Ladies and gentlemen, I know we're running extremely tight on time, but it's now the turn of the immediate family, who probably know more about Mr. Ravjee than most of us. I now call on Joshika Solanki, Mr. Ravjee's eldest sister's daughter, to address you. Joshika.
Namaste and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I feel so honored and grateful to be able to say a few words here today about this warm and wonderful person, my uncle, Amritlal, more fondly known as Flint. I'd like to thank everyone who is here today and for the countless messages, texts, phone calls and thoughts of condolences that have been both comforting during this difficult time and a reminder of the impact that Uncle Flint had on so many people. My childhood memories of Uncle Flint was of a stern, disciplined man who was always a perfectionist in everything that he did and who commanded respect and discipline from all those around him. At a very young age, he referred to my sisters and I as madams and always demanded to see our school reports to ensure that we were excelling academically. It was only when I grew older that I learned that he was such a gentle, kind, loving person. He always kept me laughing with his great sense of humor and never ceased to amaze me with his witty one-liners that never stopped, even until the end. In his career as an educator, he worked with passion and dedication and made a huge impact on the lives of his students and colleagues, as you would have heard from the other speakers prior to me. Notwithstanding the amount of years since his retirement, he's still fondly remembered by his students and by his colleagues for his dedication and hard work in shaping their lives. This is a particularly difficult and painful time for the family. Auntie Bina, Pravash, Narissa, Adrian and Nishil. We wish them courage and strength to bear this irreplaceable loss. I know that he'll be terribly missed by his siblings who, through the benefits of social media and WhatsApp, were able to reconnect and stay in touch on a more regular basis. Whilst we mourn the loss of our husband, father, brother, uncle and friend, we pay tribute and celebrate the life that was well lived. Uncle Flint will always have a special place in our hearts that can never be replaced and will always be remembered with great love and respect. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Joshika, for that heartwarming tribute. And finally, to Bina's niece, Sangeeta Sivaprasad, who in addition to herself will speak on behalf of Privash, Dr. Narissa's hubby, Adrian, and of course the other son, Nishil, who came into Bina's and Flint's life at around age 3 or thereabouts. In addition, Privash would like to finally round up. Thank you.
Jai Shri Krishna and Namaste. On behalf of the Sivaprasad family, we convey our deepest condolences to Auntie Bina, Privash, Nishil, Narissa, Adrian, Jamie, and the Ravjee family. Uncle Flint was always the MC at our family functions because he was always witty, charming, and funny. It is therefore a very surreal moment for me to be speaking here today. Uncle Flint was one of the pillars in our family. He brought joy and laughter to all of our family occasions. He was a much-loved husband, brother, brother-in-law, uncle, father, grandfather, and teacher. Some of my key memories are of Uncle Flint taking me to my first circus, teaching Privash to eat a bunny. He was a true gentleman and always insisted on washing the dishes and helping us clean up at all of our get-togethers. I remember him dancing with Narissa, teaching her to waltz, making supper whilst Auntie Bina was busy with clients, and always making sure Nish read a lot. On a family trip to Cape Town, he stayed behind to support Narissa at her swimming event. As he waved us off, he sang, "I am a bachelor boy," to Auntie Bina. Their marriage was one to be admired. Auntie Bina said he was a dream husband. Uncle Flint always put Auntie Bina first, and he never said no to her. Adrian, Privash, and Michelle, I hope you took some notes. He was well educated, yet unassuming and humble. I once read that your greatest achievement may not be who you become in life, but who you raise. Uncle Flint raised 3 wonderful children and always prioritized their education. I also think about the countless children he taught and the skills he taught them that enabled them to soar and conquer their own dreams. Teaching was his passion, and how wonderful to think of the many lives he touched and raised. Even though we grieve as a family, we take comfort in saying we were part of Uncle Flint's journey. We learned a lot from him, we laughed a lot, and we collected all the very best memories. Uncle Flint, we will really miss you. May his soul attain moksha. Jai Shri Krishna.
Thank you, Joshika. And finally, Privash Ravjee to address you. Privash.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming through today. Just a little thing about my dad. If you all didn't know, he was a hoarder. And over the years, this stuff has, since the Chatsworth High days, come down. So on Sunday, actually, he was going through one of his boxes. And I decided to save this. And I thought today would be the right day to actually use it. Mrs. Chandalman and the Fingham Secondary staff, I don't have the whole rhyme to it, but here goes what you all left behind. 3 times a legend. Thanks for the times that you've given us. The memories are all in our minds. And now that you've come to the end of your stay here, there's something we must say out loud. You're once, twice, 3 times a legend, and we love you. We love you. The times you were with us, the moments we will cherish. With every beat of our hearts, your crosswords, your humor, your playful demeanor, we'll always remember you. You're once, twice, 3 times a legend, and we love you. Yes, you're once, twice, 3 times a legend, and we love you. We love you.
Thank you, Privash. Thank you all for your presence, for your warm words of comfort to the family, and to Narissa and Sarisha. Thank you for your contribution in getting all the information that I required. It's very much appreciated. Now, Flint never ever called me by my name Bridge Ramgati. He addressed me always as on the ball with Bridge, because that was a column that I wrote for the newspaper that I eventually edited post for many, many years. So as we bid farewell to our dearest, Mr. Ravjee of Flint, to many of us, please would you all remember the families that he's left behind, because the days are going to be dark. Some days worse than others. On other days it will be a lot brighter, but it can be made more bearable by your presence, by your help, and by your support. So thank you very much indeed. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I now hand over to our Pandit Hari Dwarika, who has been very, very patient. Thank you, Panditji, for allowing the extra time, who will now conduct the final proceeding. Thank you and God bless.
Hari Om, Namaskar, Namaste and Vanakkam to one and all of you. At this juncture, I think it will only be appropriate as a mark of respect. Let us all rise and observe a moment of silence. Thank you, people. You may be seated. The Atma is eternal. Only the body made up of the 5 material elements, earth, water, fire, air and ether is. And those elements return to the sources from which they have come. The Atma, in accordance with the karma of the individual, attains a new body. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 23, very, very clearly emphasizes the eternal nature of the Atma, which is beyond the reach of material things. In Sanskrit, we go on to say, Nainam chindanti sastrani, Nainam dahati pavaka, Na chenyam kyadyantapo, Na shoshayati maharuta. For this Atma cannot be cut by any weapon, nor can it be burned by fire, nor wet by water or dried by the wind. People take note, we talk of the Atma and not the body. Death is simply a change of body for the soul, and the idea is aptly driven home by the reference to our everyday experience as given in the Bhagavad Gita. Vasamte janani yata vihaya Navani Gennati Naro Parani as a person, casts off worn-out garments and puts on new ones, so as his embodied soul casts off worn-out body and enters into new ones. Bhagavan Deva Devasya Sargana Vasara Yashare Gora Samsare Sarva Dukha Malimase Nanavida Sarirastaha Ananda Jivanasya Jayante Chamrityane Cha Teshamanto Navigate Sadata Eva Nasuki Vidyate Pachit Kenopayana Mukshesha Mujyante Vadame Prabhu. We say, Lord, the sustainer of all beings, in this world enveloped by darkness or suffering, beings in different bodily forms come and go. There seems to be no end, shows the path by which man can be liberated and attain moksha. Chaturta laksheshu sarireshu sharinam manusyam vidyantra tadvana janam tu labhyate atra janam sastranam sastara ikotivi kadachil labte jantar manusyam kun sanchayat. Among the 8,400,000 species of life on this planet, knowledge for liberation cannot be gained without being born in a human body. In no other kind of body can knowledge for liberation be gained. After countless births, transmigrations, by merit of virtue accumulated, one may attain a human birth. Therefore, the human being should always perform good dharmic actions. Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. While I'm chanting, I want the immediate families and those who have not viewed so far, please make your final viewing. Thereafter we shall proceed to the antechamber to speed up time as we are running late. Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om
Thank you, Panditji. Maybe you can just round up now. Thank you.
Can we get the pallbearers, please, guys? 3 guys, 4 guys on either side.